All right, got a good video for you guys today. More news on the diesel emission stuff. This is going to be a big deal. This not only involves passenger cars, trucks, rugged trucks, it also involves semis. That's going to be a big deal. Right now, you see a lot of semis broke down on the highway. A lot of the time, it's AdBlue stuff. Is broken at semi down or emission-related things. Not these other stuff too, let's be honest here. EPA seeks removal of diesel emissions equipment. Not only just some stuff. Talking about rolling everything back to pre-2009. Now, it says the state's EPA is seeking to undo the 2009 Endangerment Finding Act, which is the backbone of climate change rules centered around greenhouse gas emissions. This idea was brought up on March 12, 2025, when the EPA administration, Lee Zeldin, declared the greatest day of deregulation for the agency. Now, from what I read back in the day, the government kind of washed their hands of it. The EPA did whatever they wanted. We got this. Now, a lot of you are saying, okay, well, I want all the emissions I can, the cleanest everything I can. Of course. However, this is not exactly what happened here. What's happened, this got put in the wrong people's hands that pushed us through. There's not a lot of hard evidence that this actually helps anything, right? And what it did do is raise the price of running, operating diesel, anything, through the roof. An immense higher cost on building the vehicles, maintaining the vehicles in every aspect. And this actually even affects the cost of the price of diesel at the pump. I'll share that with you here in a second. A few things printed out here. I'm just going to touch on a few different things. So it says the 2009 Endangerment Act was part of the outcome of the landmark 2007 Massachusetts versus EPA case. That the U.S. Supreme Court case forced the EPA to start to regulate GHG emissions, since the state of Massachusetts was able to prove those gases were causing damage to the health and welfare of the citizens and their industries, like fishing, through the rising water temperatures. That sounds like a wild stretch right there. But unregulated, people are not regulated to a certain degree, run wild. If nobody says, no, you're not doing that. What are you doing? Stop doing that. Everything needs to be within reason. Not so far crazy that you get up with this stuff, right? So after the ruling, the EPA issued a 2009 Endangerment Finding Declaration. 6 greenhouse gases, CO2, methane, nitrous oxide, HFCs, PFCs, and SF6 threatened both public health and welfare. This finding was added to the Clean Air Act, and subsequent rules were put in place regulating the gases for transportation industries as well as other industries and power plants. So, what they did, here comes AdBlue. If you don't know how it works, AdBlue sprays basically into your exhaust and it's supposed to clean the particulate filter. However, it doesn't just spray in there. It idles up. It does what they call like I forget what they know it was, not a burn down, but basically it's right on the tip of my tongue. You guys will know all this for sure in the comments. But it basically has to do like a regen. Regen is the name for it. And it'll cook out the exhaust. So you're spraying in highly toxic liquid that the EPA approved. This stuff is so toxic and so ridiculous and cancer causing. If you spill a little bit, or you put the funnel you put it in with out to dry, it becomes this big stalactite looking crazy thing. If I can find the picture of the car out here with it, I'll attach it. Extremely corrosive. So that's spraying it in there. Then it's burning all that out the exhaust and throwing it out. If you're close by a diesel that's regened, you know it's disgusting. It's a disgusting smell. It just is like, who approved that? Who approved that? Come on, people. Come on, people. So the biggest thing about this is at that point in time, part of the act, they started making low sulfur diesel, which costs a tremendous more amount to make. If you remember, back in the day, diesel was always cheaper than gas. Always, always, always. And all of a sudden one day, it was $1 more a gallon than gas, or more. more here right now. And everybody's like, what happened? Nobody heard about this stuff. You didn't hear about any of this on the news. It just happened, right? And nobody paid attention to it. And it says right from the horse's mouth, right here. It says ultra low sulfur diesel, ULSD, generally costs more than older high sulfur diesel. Primarily due because additional refining steps required to remove the sulfur, which increases production costs. Now, I'm going to jump ahead here. The lubrication value of this. Sulfur also acts as a lubricant in diesel fuel. So by refining the sulfur out, they also took the lubricant out of it. What's that going to do? Make everything wear a lot more. And removing it can reduce the fuel's lubricity, potential leading to increased wear on engine components. Just what I said, right? And it says regulations, the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, mandated a reduction of sulfur content in diesel to minimize harmful emissions. This led to the widespread adopted ultra-low sulfur diesel, which contains significantly less sulfur than previous grades. And removing sulfur from diesel requires a specialized and more expensive refining process, such as hydrotreating, which increases overall cost of production. How good is hydrotreating for the environment? Nobody even looked, did they? You didn't even look. Can refining that more be more caustic to the environment than just running it? Probably. That's kind of the way things go. So the low sulfur diesel has environmental benefits. The sulfur removal process can slightly reduce its energy density, meaning you might get slightly less fuel economy per gallon. Idiots. So nobody watched what was going on. They passed a bunch of crap, and now you can barely even drive a diesel vehicle because the AdBlue is constantly just having a nuclear meltdown. Then they made it a federal offense to delete the AdBlue system. So it's like, we're going to force this on you. We didn't really research it much. We're just going to force it out there. And then if you question us, if you try to undo anything we did, you're going to prison, boy. You're going to prison. Not like hang out in a nice area prison, like you're going to be somebody's girlfriend in prison, right? Definitely for sure. What a crazy world we live in. This got kind of pushed under the radar in 2009. It started coming on board on a lot of cars, 2012, I would say. Actually really hitting the market 2012, maybe as early as 2011. Europe did not get this. Europe does not have AdBlue, as far as I've been told. There may be some little country in Europe that maybe has it, maybe don't. But, you know, like one of the largest diesel burning countries in the world, which is UK, they don't have AdBlue. As far as I know, unless something's changed very recently, that's not the case. So you're actually being hard on the environment by burning out your AdBlue particulate filter, by refining the diesel and having waste from that. What's even going on here? Anyhow, it is now reverted back to pre-2009. I don't remember, did pre-2009, I think he still had EGR valve stuff, which is terrible, where it tries to reburn the exhaust gases, which doesn't work and clogs up the whole engine, causes a nuclear meltdown in the engine. But you're one block off plate from deleting that, and you don't have AdBlue. Are they going to make it legal to delete the AdBlue now? They better. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't. Right now, to delete AdBlue, if you have a diesel car or truck, you all know the story. If you're watching this video, you know the story. You have a problem with AdBlue, there's not much fixing that. They want you to bring it to the dealer. The last quote I've seen from Volkswagen was $13,000. You get on the forums, that's my personal quote here. You go on the forums, a lot of people say $13,000. But since the AdBlue is so corrosive, it's constantly ruining all the sensors, ruining all the stuff, and causing a big problem. And they have it set up so if there's an AdBlue problem, they give you 14 starts. If you're lucky, you could use about 3 or 4 of those starts before it just won't start. Crank, but no start. And a lot of people here are having those issues. If you want to delete the AdBlue, you have to buy the delete software from a different country. And it is extortionate prices. because it's in high demand. Now, if you're running a big truck, you can't delete the AdBlue. Most likely, right? You have to pass real emissions, commercial vehicle. You have a lot of different laws that apply by that. So even if you did delete it, your inspection would fail on it, be all kinds of issues. So no more having a little AdBlue thing at the pump, the way it sounds, where you put AdBlue in next to the gas pump, and it's even more money to fill up. You have to remember, you're not just buying really expensive diesel, you're buying diesel and AdBlue. And it could put some AdBlue through pretty fast, especially on a bigger engine. I don't know. The whole thing is mind-boggling to me. This ever got passed. Why this ever get passed through, nobody knows. All of a sudden, it got passed, or some years later here, everybody's car is falling apart, and people start asking questions why. And then the EPA comes out and says, yeah, we're getting rid of that crap. That's enough of that. Take it for what you will. Let me know in the comments what you think. But I bet you everybody with the diesel is real damn happy to see this video and see this paperwork on what's going on. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you later.